I had no plans of ever going to Germany. That was not in my bucket list ever in my lifetime. So it was like very, very, very random. I was in a point in my life where I was like, you know what? Like, I ain't got no wife, I ain't got no kids, I ain't got no like serious responsibility. Why not? So I sold everything in New York City, put everything into a carry-on suitcase and a book bag, and just moved out.
That sounds fun. That sounds exciting. It sounds like an adventure. But I think for a lot of people, it also sounds kind of crazy.
Now looking back at me like doing that, it's crazy. Man, when you live outside America, you realize how American you are, which is kind of crazy. Oh, wow, I do value these things, yo. I actually want them.
How does it feel like as an American to kind of integrate into German society?
It's been interesting because the integration has been happening in ways I didn't expect it.
Where would you rather live, Germany or the US?
And that's a good question, bro. And people ask me that actually a lot.
I want to get into your history with Germany and kind of how you ended up there and how long you've been there. But why don't we take it back to like the beginning? Where are you from originally? Where did you grow up?
Yeah, so originally from Jersey, so that's where born, raised, and then New York City is where I lived last, or pretty much where I lived the longest in my adult life before moving out here to Berlin, Germany. And then I come from I was born in America, but also my family there were born in West Africa, Liberia. So I got like the third culture kid experience in that.
So your parents were like they moved from Liberia to the U.S. You
Yeah,
were
so
the first
basically,
generation.
but first generation. So I was born in America, and pretty much the first out of the family to be born in America.
Ah, wow. Okay. So like, did you and your family go back to Africa at all when you were growing up, or were you pretty much just in the U.S. at that point?
Pretty much it's only in the U.S. Reason why is that in Liberia they had the civil war that was going on for the times growing up. So it was pretty much difficult to travel over there during the war. So it was mostly me being in America, but growing up in a community where there's a lot of Liberian people. So that's kind of like I guess my experience growing up was growing up in a strong Liberian community that was growing.
So like your family, they were fleeing that civil war. Is that why they moved to the U.S.?
Not really. I think it's like it coincided with the time that they wanted to just move to America. So like literally during that time and when they wanted to, things were flaring up. So I would imagine that kind of expedited that whole, okay, let me move to the States. But there wasn't really fleeing per se. I think by the time they moved to America and it was kind of getting things situated and deciding, it was already like a decision. And then the war just kind of like pushed them like quickly into moving. So maybe I won't say directly, but maybe indirectly.
Sure, I got you. Yeah, yeah. And like the Liberian community in New York, I didn't know that there was a Liberian community there, but it makes sense. I mean, New York is such a multicultural place. Do you think that like informed your parents' decision on where to move in the U.S.?
Oh yeah. I mean, when you look at any immigrant community, it starts with like one or two people that move from that country, and then it's kind of starts off with like, all right, you got your uncles, then your cousin, then before you look your friends from high school, and then it grows, people have kids. So yeah, definitely if you go into a new country, you're gonna be like, all right, so where are my people at?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everyone wants to feel comfortable, right? And they want to, have a piece of their home culture with the people that they interact with, right? That totally makes sense. Do you feel like growing up in New York kind of gives you a multicultural perspective on the world automatically?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does. I think for one, growing up in that immigrant background, and then also growing up in America, being born in America, it gives you like this duality of experiences. That all right, when soon you get out the house, you're experiencing obviously the American culture, and then even where I grew up was that they had like people from different like I mean black people, we had white people from different places, you had like Asian people, so like the street I grew on was like very diverse. And then in the house, when you're growing up, obviously you're growing up in a culture that is dominantly from the home country, which is Liberia. So it was like a dual experience that forced me to understand, okay, like something I might take something for granted over here, but when I come into the house, they're like, nah, this is a big deal. And you're like, oh shit, all right.
So, what is a big deal for Liberian parents?
I think what's a big deal is food. And I think a lot of cultures also have this importance of like not wasting food. And in America, people waste food a lot. Like, I mean, a lot. And that is something where, food is I won't say food is scarce so much as so is that it takes a lot of work to make your food. Like, so when you grow up that way of when you have to make your own food, you're more appreciative of it. So growing up in America, like, people wasting food all the time. I might have the thing where I eat a bowl of cereal and then the milk is, I don't want to drink the milk 'cause it has too many bits in there. I don't want to do it. Or the cereal is soggy. I don't want to eat it no more. And my mom is like, what are you talking about? Like, this is the food is still there. You gotta eat it. So, some of those differences of things that are taken for granted, like food, even water. That was something where growing up, like I had to learn how to conserve water while washing dishes. Like that was a thing. Like, I just thought turn on the water and then that's it. My mom and dad was like, nah, what? Like, not only is water scarce where we come from, but we also paying for it. So you ain't about to just let the sink run while you washing dishes. You want to use the sponge, wash it, close the faucet as you're washing it. When you're done with all of it, turn the faucet on, wash the dishes. Like I had an uncle who actually taught me how to conserve water and wash dishes. That's how serious it was.
I remember, when I was like 18, I did this trip to Australia, and I was doing this workaway program where I was like staying with people for a couple of weeks, working for room and board basically with them. And I went to stay with this couple. They were like these two kind of older ladies, and they wanted me to like mow the lawn and like wash the dishes and do the laundry and stuff like that, kind of help them out. And they were like on me about wasting water when I was doing the dishes. So like I would just turn the tap on and be waiting for it to get hot. And they're like, no, 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 no. You got to put a bottle underneath the tap to collect the water while the water is getting hot. And then you can use that water for something else later. Like don't just put it down the drain. And I was like, wow, I never like even heard of that concept before. I mean, coming from Canada, like you're saying with the US, we take things for granted all the time, right? All kinds of resources, not just water, but all kinds of stuff. We don't really care. But they were very locked into that. And they weren't even from like immigrant backgrounds. Like they were just like born and raised Australians with Australian parents and stuff, but they really had this idea of like, we need to conserve the things that we have. And I don't know if it was financial, like, we don't want to waste money, or if it was like, water is a finite thing and we need to be careful with it. I don't know exactly, but that was my first exposure to like, oh yeah, like this is a thing. You got to be careful with what you got.
Yeah, it gets real, and people are serious about it. It's either you're not serious about it or you're very serious about it. There's no like halfway in it.
Yeah. I mean, that's cool to grow up in an environment where you do kind of get a bit of both, like so many people just grow up in like this echo chamber, right? Where it's like whatever I do on a day-to-day basis is the only reality that exists in the world. That's like the assumption that people have, I'm from a small town. I get that, trust me. Like
Oh,
most of the
really?
people, like the place where I grew up had 5,000 people. And so it's very easy to assume that like this is it, because I got nothing else modeled for me. This is how life is. And so to grow up in a big city, with parents from a different country, right from the very beginning, you would understand that there's more than one reality in this world. I think that's a blessing.
Yeah, I mean it is, and also too, just moving around and stuff. So, when you grow up in communities that are like it has a lot of people from that culture, it just kind of reinforces these things. So not only is it your household, it's other households. So if I go to my cousin's house, I go to my uncle's house, they're doing the same thing. So like it reinforces that awareness and to it, and then also your cousins experience the same thing. So we're talking, we're like, yo, is your dad doing the same thing? Yeah, my dad told me this too. Yeah, this and that. And, you hear your parents talking. So it's like a reinforcement loop of like, okay, we gotta really save water. Okay, whatever food we have on the plate, we gotta finish it. And then when you go to somebody else's house, like I go to a friend's house and I see them wasting food, you kind of like, oh, so yeah, so your mom allows you to just throw the box of cereal in the garbage? Like, or even sharing food. That's a big thing where all the food in the house is for everybody. So, as long as you don't finish the food and you leave some for someone else, it's for everybody to share it. You go into somebody else's house, especially in America, you go and you about to get a box of cereal from somebody's cupboard. They're like, oh no, no, that's my mom's cereal. And you like, yeah, your mom, so your mom has separate cereal From her son? Yeah, that's you can't eat now. That's my mom's milk. That's my mom's milk and cereal. I'm like, hold on. So where's your cereal? I ain't got no cereal. So hold on, she got cereal, but you ain't got no cereal. What's going on?
It's crazy. I didn't realize until I left North America how like individualistic we are. Like everything is just about you as an individual and what you want to do in that moment. A lot of stuff of like ownership. This is mine. That's yours. We don't share very well. I think like North America is like the kid that never learned to share because they didn't have siblings or something like that. Like that's North America, just kind of like on a larger scale. And there's something nice about that because you don't have an obligation to anyone else, and so you can really just do what you want. But we also lose an aspect of like community through that by just wanting to be in our own lane all the time. I think it can be kind of lonely, and when you talk to people who move to countries that are more community minded, like I mean from North America to one of those countries, that's usually something that they really appreciate, where they're like, oh, I kind of wish that our countries did that better.
Yeah, true. And community, man, is something that I mean, there's communities obviously in America, but it's like it's not as wide as other countries. Like there's some countries where it's like that's the whole country. Like the whole country is a community, so to speak.
Yeah.
And everyone operates in that way. Whereas in America, it's like very tight knit. Like, I mean, let's be serious. A running club is a community of sorts. It's just that you got to pay
Sure.
into it on a monthly basis, or is it based around running? Or I don't know, you go to the library, a book club, that's a community a little bit, but it's based around these things that are not as let's just say I'm gonna say strong. Let's just say it's not as rooted because some of these communities we're talking about is based on family. And that's like the primary reason. It's like, okay, you're part of the community because my mom views you as a best friend, so therefore you're my uncle or you're my aunt. So it's like these family oriented things that makes the community rather than in the States, it's like, oh, you like the same sneakers. So all right, we this is the Jordan Club or something. And and you're in
Sure.
the club as long as you wear Jordans. If you don't wear Jordans, you're out.
But like you have to look for that. Like you'd have to be a little bit more savvy in terms of like looking for a community and creating that on your own. You gotta make the Jordan Club where like you're saying if you just kind of grafted into a community through your parents, then you just have that from birth basically, right? So
Yeah.
like it can exist here, but you got to do it on your own, which is ironic that like it's like the individualistic mindset trying to be the community mindset where you're like, I'm going to make community on my own, damn it. Like it's like going about it in the opposite way, as an
Yeah.
individual. But yeah, so then how did you end up moving to Germany? When did that take place?
Yeah, so that was very random, man. So it was me and a friend of mine. We both did comedy. So I started comedy in New York City. That's where I started comedy, and we just decided to kind of go out and do some cities in Europe. So we were like, hey, we'll do some comedy because we went to Barcelona before, did some comedy. People was telling us about, hey, man, you gotta go to Berlin. There's some other cities you could do some comedy. So we kind of just went on some, all right, like, yo, there's comedy out there. Let's just see where it goes. So we went to Paris, went to Amsterdam, Rotterdam, went to Berlin, Germany. And then Berlin just kind of reminded me of New York City in a way where it's just like, wow, it's a lot of hustle and bustle. And then also I was able to get up a lot comedy wise. So then we went back to Paris and my friend went up to the UK. Then went back to Berlin. I was there for about like a week. Then somebody was like, yo, man, you got to stay for May 1st. So then I extended my time a little bit. I was working remotely, and over time, I was doing good, having a good time. I'm doing good on shows, and then eventually, some comedians are like, "Hey, so when are you gonna move here?" I'm like, "Move here? This is my first time in Berlin, Germany. I never thought I was gonna be here. Like, I had no plans of ever going to Germany. That was not on my bucket list ever in my lifetime. It's just random." And he was like, "Yeah, you can get yourself an artist visa, a visa that allows you to get a visa that you're able to do as long as you're able to prove that you can make money from the art that you do." So I was like, really? And it gave me all the steps on what to do, all the resources. And I was in a point in my life where I was like, you know what? Like, I ain't got no wife, I ain't got no kids, I ain't got no like serious responsibility. Why not? So I sold everything in New York City, put everything into a carry-on suitcase and a book bag, and just moved out. And then I figured it out. So it was like very, very, very random.
Yeah, so it was like a Euro trip in general, like doing some dates, and then you just happened upon Germany. Like it could have been in any of the other countries, hypothetically.
It literally could be. And like I had plans of going to France because France has like this clown school. It's called Philippe Gaulier or something like that. So I was planning on actually doing that. So I was actually planning on going to France, not going to France and probably being there for like a bit, like probably for like a year or 6 months or something in this school. But then I came across Berlin and then they told me about that. I was like, so you can get a visa for the art that you do, and as long as you prove you can make some income from that? I'm like, what? So then, yeah, I did it. And then, bro, I had the appointment, did it. I only had like a couch from a guy that I met in Paris. He's also a comedian that he said he lived in Berlin. So he's like, hey, man, my couch is open. You can crash on my couch. So I'm like, all right, cool. Just met that dude 6 months ago, random country, right? So it was very,
Uh,
yeah, no plan. It was very crazy, to be
so you're
honest.
kind of a spontaneous guy, it sounds like.
I couldn't argue with you. I could not argue with you.
Because I mean that sounds fun. That sounds exciting. It sounds like like an adventure. But I think for a lot of people, it also sounds kind of crazy.
It now looking back at me like doing that, it's crazy because so many things could have gone. Like I had a visa appointment. That was the only thing I had that was concrete. Because obviously, when you're in Europe as a United States citizen, you have a visa, the Schengen visa, and as long as you're in the Schengen country or the Schengen region, or so you can stay in the countries that are in that region up to 3 months. So that's the only thing I had, the 3 months, and then this visa appointment. And and people tell me, yeah, it shouldn't be no big deal. It's all right, it's fine, but you need a lot of paperwork. So, and it's not guaranteed. Sometimes you might get 1 years, you might get 3 years, you might get no years. I have friends that got denied, they had to redo it again to get their actual visa. So yeah, very spontaneous, bro. Very spontaneous.
And so like you guys went there specifically for comedy. That's why you went to Europe.
Yeah, for comedy, yeah.
I mean, like I don't know all of the origins of stand-up comedy, but I think the U.S. is kind of known as like the birthplace of stand-up, or at least where it kind of became popular. And so, like why go to Europe in the first place if it's like this? If you're in the birthplace of comedy in New York.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good question. A lot of people ask me that all the time. And, I did New York, I did comedy in New York for a while. That's where I started. That's where I did majority of all my comedy, right? But I think it was just one of those opportunities where I was like, it's just fun. It just felt fun to be like, okay. Because even those situations where I'll do like a show and then somebody will be there and they'll be like, yo, man, I really like your stuff, man. Whenever you're back in Europe, I'll come fly you out to like Estonia or something. I'm like, what? Hold on. So you're gonna fly me out? I never got that type of situation in New York City, right? So then I was like, all right, I mean, if all these things are coming my way, why not? And then New York City ain't that far from like literally you can get a direct flight from Berlin to New York City for like what round trip, maybe like 300 euro, like $300, 300 euros or something.
Whoa.
So ain't like I can never I went to New York a couple months ago. So when I looked at it, I'm like, New York is literally right there. Ain't going anywhere. I got family there. Like I ain't like like I'm leaving New York behind. I can never go. It's a direct flight, literally from. I can just go. I just came from the airport today. I can just go right over there, direct flight to New York City.
Yeah, you don't have to choose, I guess. You don't have to only do comedy in one city or one country for that matter. You can do comedy, I guess, in different places, and you see that with comedians, right? Doing world tours, going to a bunch of different countries. I mean, how does that work? Like you do comedy in English, right?
Yes.
So like I always wonder when I see people that do these international tours, like you're in Barcelona, then you're in Berlin, then you're in Paris, and like do all of the jokes translate? Like, do all of those European countries have a large enough community of English speakers that are interested in comedy and are able to understand it? Or like, how does that work linguistically?
Yeah, so for one, English is spoken, I mean, pretty much at this point worldwide. Like, I mean, it's one of those de facto languages. It's the de facto language if you can't speak the origin language of that country or a language of a country that's adjacent. So English just happens to be the default. Somebody speaks Spanish and they're in Sweden. I mean, English becomes the default of how I find how to get to the main train station.
Yeah.
So a lot of people understand English and speak English. In terms of references and things, that's where it can get a little tricky. So there's going to be some contextual things that maybe are rooted in American culture that are not understood fully in cultures outside of America. and each of those things vary. So, for example, like I'm on tour right now. So I was in Copenhagen, I was in Finland, I was in Malmö, I was in Gothenburg, going to Madrid. I'm going to all these different places all over, and each of these places have different temperaments, different understanding of English, different references. So, it can be tricky for each country, each city, because it goes based on the entertainment that was prevalent from an English perspective in those countries or in that city. So, it's down to, all right, was they playing Fresh Prince of Bel-Air a lot over in this country or not? Or was they playing mostly French, speaking something, or did they not import, did they have Disney Channel? Did they not? Well, no, maybe they had Disney Channel over here. Maybe they had Nickelodeon over here. Somebody saw Arnold over here. They never seen it Hey Arnold. So, you just choosing it day by day, or not, or country by country.
And so, how is it in Germany specifically?
Germany, I ain't gonna lie, bro. Germany and Berlin specifically, because Berlin, they say, is not Germany, it's different. And yeah, Berlin has its own vibe. It is not a representation of Germany at all. But I will say that it has enough of a expat immigrant community, a lot of people from all over the place, that English is something that people understand. And from a standpoint of stand-up comedy, I mean, it's a lot of it. English stand-up comedy is, I mean, every day you can go up on stage and
Wow.
there's audience. So people, yeah, I'm surprised still. People understand and people laugh out here in Germany, contrary to the popular belief.
So, are there like German stand ups and English speaking stand ups in the same clubs?
Yeah. So you have some shows where they'll have like shows or comedy nights or so that'll have like German comedians, and then they'll have like an English speaker in the middle, or they'll just have like a straight show where it's I mean, obviously German speaking is, we're in Germany, but then most of the shows and mics, there's a lot of English stand-up comedy.
You said that Berlin doesn't represent Germany as a whole. What does that mean? What's different about Berlin in comparison to other German cities?
Well, for one, Berlin is very diverse in many different ways, in ways that you didn't think diversity can come. Like, I mean, obviously, we think about racial diversity and things, but there's diversity in like religion, the diversity in clothing, diversity in, what you into in terms of relationships, that's sexual wise, all that, like everything. Man, there's diversity in the color of shirts you have. You might be seeing something, you're like, wow, okay, I never knew that type of shirt existed, right?
Uh,
So Germany, for all the other cities in Germany tend to be a little more conservative, a little bit. Not that much to do. So like small town type of vibes. Whereas Berlin, I mean, it's almost like New York City. They got like specific sections where if you want to have a good time, bar hop, you go over here. If you want to kind of chill and be regular, you can go over here. If you want to go something trendy where you kind of, dressed up, there's like literally a part of town that's that's in Berlin where you can go there, and it's like drastically different. And German cities, not maybe there's some that are city like, but nothing like Berlin. Berlin is, I mean, huh, put it this way, right? Berlin has kink clubs, and that's not something that Germany just has all over the place. So
okay.
Berlin is different.
Sure. I mean, you made a comparison earlier to New York. Like Berlin reminded you of New York. Is it like a similar kind of vibe back home as well?
Yeah, so because New York City, like I lived there for a long time. Like I'm not originally from New York City. I'm from New Jersey. So for anyone who's listening to this, New York City people, they they like, yo, hold on, what PS did you go to? What school? New Jersey. Then lived in New York City for a long time. Like you
So
put that out there.
I mean, that's my fault. I keep kind of interchanging between New York and New Jersey as if it's the same place. I understand it's different. I think from the outside, there's always a temptation to be like anything within like 100-mile radius is just New York City. But of course, that's not the case.
There's for my own safety and the safety of the comments that's gonna come here. Let me
I
just be the
come in
one to,
peace. I come
yeah.
in peace.
Let me be the one to not let it slide and say there are big differences
Yeah.
between Jersey, New York City, even the boroughs in New York City. Like you say somebody from Harlem is from Brooklyn, they man, you get into a big argument. So
Hmm.
yeah, don't them little differences matter. But anyways, yeah, it reminded me of New York City because really, I ain't gonna lie, Berlin is dingy, it's kind of grungy, there's a lot of dirt. uh there's issues in the city that reminds me of New York City. My paranoia feels like it's at home. So, I'm like, okay, my paranoia is valid here. Uh, and weirdly enough, I'm like, oh, this is good. I look over my shoulder. There's a little bit of danger. I feel presence. So this is a city where I'm like, yeah, let me stay here a little bit.
Do you feel like Berlin is a dangerous city to live in?
Nah, to be honest, nah. Yeah, when you, I mean, I grew up, man, I lived in some spots where it's like, all right, like for real, this is bad. Like, oh yeah, there's guns around here because there was a raid and down the street they caught a lot people with a lot of guns. So it's like, oh, this is for real. They have guns. Berlin is like, they got some knives here and there. Somebody, smoking a little something that you saw should not be existing anymore, but it's still still happening. But yeah, Berlin is kind of safe.
Yeah, I mean, like having a bunch of guns does up the ante real quick. You know, when you're talking about the U.S. and like
Oh yeah,
even here in Canada, sometimes people will say like, "Oh, that's kind of like the sketchy neighborhood of this city," and I always kind of roll my eyes. I'm like, "Yeah, that's the sketchy neighborhood in the Canadian context." like this is the safe neighborhood in comparison to many other places in the world. So like I think you're going to be okay. Like it's we just have different we have different stuff going on. We don't have as many guns, I guess, and we're just a little more less. I think there's less danger overall, but and of course it depends where you are in the US. Not every place is dangerous, but where you get high concentrations of people, there's always a little bit more, stuff going on. Like maybe New York.
yeah, no, for a fact, yeah.
So, how was it for you, kind of like adapting to life in Germany? How long have you been there now, by the way?
2 years now, yeah.
2 years, okay, and that's been 2 years based all of it in Berlin, right?
Yeah, all of it in Berlin, yeah.
Yeah. So then, how does it feel like as an American to kind of integrate into German society?
It's been interesting, because the integration has been happening in ways I didn't expect it. Like, for example, now I'm more sensitive to loud noise. That was something that I was not. I mean, because New York City is the opposite, or any places that I lived in the States, it was the opposite. It's always loud music, always loud noise. So I'm just used to that. Even come from a family, and because most African families tend to be very like very talkative, very loud. So me being out here for 2 years now, I'm like sensitive to loud noise now. If I'm on this train or the subway, I'm talking lightly. So and that's happening. Also, too, I'm learning German, so that's also very. I'd say that has been actually if I was to think about it, that has been like a big deal in terms of the integration part because I'm actually trying. And in Berlin, you don't have to speak. There's some people that I know that they don't speak German. They've been here for 10 years, so you don't have to learn German. You don't have to learn the language when you're living here in Berlin. So the integration so far with me trying to learn German has been very helpful because it just unlocks this door of me trying to connect at a deep level. And that basically makes most interactions, let's just say, a little more different than your typical, like your typical experience for, say, someone who's new to Berlin or new to Germany, from what I found.
Right, and like as English speakers, we don't really have a great reputation internationally for learning other languages either, right? Like
Yeah.
if there's going to be someone who doesn't learn another language who's living in Berlin or any other city, the chances are it's probably going to be an English speaker. And like it's not fair that like English just happens to be this kind of lingua franca and it's also our native language. I mean, we kind of won the lottery in that regard. But it also kind of makes sense to a certain degree because like the example you said earlier is like if someone who doesn't speak, I can't remember what nationalities you said, but it's like someone from Spain goes to Sweden, I think you said. What are they going to be speaking with each other? They're going to be speaking English. So that also shows that like Swedish people aren't learning Spanish and Spanish people aren't necessarily learning Swedish. So like once other nationalities learn English, that does seem to be where the language learning also stops. So essentially like they once they get to the place where they can speak English like you and I can, then they also stop learning languages. So it's not entirely just native like English speakers that aren't super interested in learning a wide range of other languages. We have that reputation, but it's not completely fair in some ways. But generally speaking, it's like if we can get by, we're not going to learn another language. And I think it's a shame because, like you said, when you speak the local language, even if you don't have to, it makes such a big difference in like how you can interact with people, you know? Like I would imagine that when you first arrived, you didn't speak any German.
Yeah, I didn't speak any German, but I tried though. Like, like I would literally look at signs and try to pronounce it. So I think even coming out the gate, I didn't even take no classes. I was just saying like, even the hello, like saying with the hello with a deep voice, or just hearing what somebody else would say and repeat it. So I'll be in situations like that. So I'll say from the jump, when I first came, even there's some words where I was like learning a bit. Even while I was before I moved to Berlin, like there's some words I was trying to learn, even while I was visiting. Because I don't know what it is. I have this thing where even I just came back from Sweden. There's a thing where understand how important speaking the language is. Maybe this comes from me being like first generation or second, I'm not sure, Liberian, that like the tonality and how you speak someone's language can really make a big difference. Like if somebody starts speaking to me in a Liberian accent in English, like it's a different conversation. Like it's completely different. So I understand really how speaking someone's native tongue or tonality makes a huge difference. So I learned, and so from the jump, I was like, okay, how do you say hello? How you say thank you? How you say excuse me? How you say bye? I'm listening to people. I'm like, okay, so somebody in front of me ordered it this way, so I'm gonna order it the same way. So I would just repeat what the guy's saying, and then I'm like, okay, so he said ein, so ein means a. Okay, cool. So how you say two? How you say three? Okay, so now I learn how to count to and to 10. So that so like I was trying like early. Um, so when I first visited Berlin.
I mean, that's like super commendable though, because you have to be like, I think being curious is a great trait to have if you want to learn a new language. Because you got to ask yourself some questions. You got to have a questioning mind where you're like, like you said, how do you say this? How do you say that? Or, if they say it that way, why is it that they do that? Grammatically, what does that word mean? Or what does that represent in this particular sentence? And by asking yourself those questions, you can learn a language much, much quicker, but it does require you to really care. Like you actually have to want to know the answer, or you're not going to ask yourself the questions. You know what I mean? And so like, where would you say you're at with your German now? Like, what level would you say your German is?
I think my level's at an A 0.5, bro. Despite me even saying all this right here, I think it's A 0.5, but some people have said that it's been good. And this is how crazy I am, because this is all the you clearly I don't do things normally. Is that I used to do like a daily thing. Sometimes I do it daily of talking about the weather in German. So what I would do is that go on social media on my stories every day for like a year. I was just like, Das Wetter is sehr gut or something like that. And then over time, I'll be like, okay, the temperature grad, yes, es ist, the temperature now is something. Or, ich bin müde, I'm tired, aber, weil die Sonnen draußen nicht or something. No, die Sonnen nicht draußen or something. The sun is not out. So like I would start piecing things together on a daily basis, and then there'll be other German speakers that are following me. They'll watch it, and then so I know they're watching me. So it adds more pressure for me to say the words correctly and to know what I'm talking about. So almost like it's like this forced feedback loop of like, okay, German people are definitely watching my stories. They are judging me because I will get messages being like, "Hey, is this instead of that?" And I would say that accelerated my learning a lot because I'm talking about because what will happen too is that I'll start saying the same thing, and people and literally German people will be like, all right, so yeah, we know the sun is out. What how do you feel that the sun is out? Like, what are you doing about the sun since it's out? What are you doing now? Are you outside? What are you doing outside? So almost like forces like, okay, so I can't say, das Wetter is good, das Wetter is good, das Wetter is nicht good. They were like, no, okay, so what's the temperature? How about, okay, there's a thunderstorm that's happening later on today. Do you not say thunderstorm? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, you got to go deeper and deeper as you progress into the language, basically. Like, yeah, give us a little bit more. Give us a little bit more than what the sun is doing today.
Yeah.
And like, for better or for worse, I experience German people as being quite direct as well. Like, they're not shy to give you feedback. Like the first foreign language that I learned was Tagalog or Filipino, and I'll talk to Filipinos, and Filipinos are so nice. They don't want to tell you if you're saying something wrong. Like they feel this kind of social obligation to just like accept whatever you say the way that you say it, which is awesome and it's nice. But like I've had situations where I'll say something to someone and they'll finally be like, "Oh, by the way, that isn't how you say that word. It's you're trying to say a different word." And then I go, "Really?" And I think in my head like I've been saying that wrong for 8 years, and nobody ever told me that it was not the right word. Like words that were like completely different, and then I feel like embarrassed, like, oh, like no one told me. It's kind of like when you have like food on your face and no one tells you, and then you look in the mirror later and you're like, oh crap, like so Germans won't let that happen because they'll just tell you. They'll be like, nah man, like you're saying that wrong, it's not right. And so I think it can be, you don't want to get too much feedback early on because it can be kind of demotivating. Like it can make you feel worse about your language level. But at the same time, you need to have some feedback so you can actually improve on the things that you're saying wrong. And so I think, like I said, for better or for worse, Germans will let you know. Has that been your experience as well?
Yeah, either to let you know, or even worse, is that it was just switch right to English. So that's
Uh,
what makes it difficult to learn German, specifically in Berlin, is that if they feel like you can't speak the language, you can't comprehend what they're saying, they're going to just go right to English. So almost is demotivating because you're like, hello, kann ich ein? And then you kind of nervous, you ain't got the confidence. Think about you want one coffee, right? And you're like, oh shit, all right, well, I guess I lost because they just spoke English to me, interrupted me. But I would say either they're direct once they feel like they can, I guess maybe, but 9 times out of 10, say in Berlin specifically, from what I've heard, is that they switch over to English. And that has happened to me a bit. But again, crazy to me, what I would do is that they'll switch to English, I'll speak back to broken German. So I'll like force it. So I was like very proactive. I'm like, hey, look, you can speak English. I'm gonna give you these broken German words. And we're gonna do it. So they go
we're gonna make this
they'll have the
happen.
whole yeah, they'll have the whole conversation in English. I'll have the whole conversation broken German, and I would just do it like that for a long time. I'll go to the same coffee shop. They know I can speak German. They're like, "Hello," I'm like, "Hello, kann ich ein?" They're like, "You want ja, ja, bitte," und
I've heard of people also like pretending that they don't speak English. Like they'll just like pick a different country where they look like they might be from, and then just say, "Well, I don't speak any English, so unless you speak, whatever Estonian, we're gonna have to do this in German."
Yeah, in Germany, maybe like in the small towns or something like that, because like like in Berlin, there's so many English speakers that it's just like okay, English. There's even people that work at coffee shops here in Berlin that they can't speak German, so that's how English centric it is. But you go to some of these towns in Germany, I mean, they're like, hey, I mean, if you this far down or you this deep in Germany, you speak German, right? Like, why would you come here and you don't speak the language? And you're like, good point.
So like, have you traveled around Germany a little bit as well?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been to many. I've been to a couple cities, like Hamburg, Munich, Nuremberg, Cologne or Cologne. Yeah, so I've been to a couple. I've been like all over from the east, north, south, west. Yeah.
And would you ever consider moving to a different city in Germany, or are you happy in Berlin?
I'm happy in Berlin. I mean, to be honest, the reason why I'm here is because of stand-up comedy. And, there's a lot of comedy that's happening here. And there's a lot of people, and it's growing too. So it's just, I like doing stand-up comedy. That's my main thing. And some of these cities don't have it as often because these are like small towns, or again, they're not that type of town where they have these type of activities or spaces to have these activities. So it wouldn't be conducive to the whole reason why I'm here.
Yeah, I think that Berlin kind of has a reputation as being like an artistic hub of Germany. Like a lot of art, stand-up comedy included, is like more prevalent there. Would you say that that's like an accurate description of the city?
Yeah, I guess prevalent. I wouldn't say per se. Let's just say it's growing because there's still some people that come to shows that they don't know that stand-up comedy is a thing. Like they live like right around the corner from the comedy club, and they're like, "Yeah, I never knew they had English comedy. Wow, thank you very much for letting me know." I'm like, "Wow, this has been going on for like 10 plus years from what I understand out here in Berlin." So it still seems like it's growing.
I mean, I guess stand-up comedy, maybe in Europe is like still somewhat more niche than it would be like in North America. But I guess I'm referring more to like art in general, like an appreciation for art as a whole. Whether that be stand-up comedy or anything else. It seems like Berlin has that reputation of being like more inclusive and more accepting of like any kind of art that you value.
Oh, for a fact. I mean, bro, I got a visa because of me being an artist. So they definitely like, yeah. Even the healthcare that I got is part of this artist collective, where they on their behalf, if you pay into the system, basically they help you facilitate the introduction into getting into the public healthcare system and the public pension. So I got healthcare and pension through this like artist collective, and now I got healthcare for literally being a stand-up comedian, which is crazy. Like for health to be considered as something to care about for a comedian is unprecedented. Most people don't care about comedians' physical body at all. They're like, hey, we just care about the words. Whatever words coming out your mouth, that's all we care about. Your body, that's technically we should care because that's where sounds come from, and you can't say something without your body. But other than that, we just want the words. Here, they're like, oh, okay, so your healthcare pay into something. We'll give you a card, and if you need medicine, let us know. And here's a pension that you can pay into. So yeah, artists, bro, it is art centric out here. I mean, it's so art centric. There's unorthodox type of art that happens here that people go to. Somebody can literally get a drum and bang a bottle of water on it, and somebody be like, that is art. Oh my God, where can I donate? Where can I support this art, this new form, this avant-garde way of making sounds? Like literally, there's somebody, yeah, there's some guy like literally bangs his head on a drum and like literally just slides he has drumsticks. He just slides it on the table and hits his head on a drum. And people come out to the shows. He's
Yeah.
on tour. He's on tour in Germany right now. That guy.
I mean, I remember when I was in Germany, I did like an exchange program through my university, and I was in Germany for a month, and we spent a weekend in Berlin, and we went to the Museum Island area.
Oh
Where they have
yeah.
all of those different museums. You buy like one pass, and you can go to like 4 different museums. And we went into one of the first ones, and we're looking around, and there's like your classic art on the wall, and like porcelain, ceramic things and whatever. And then there's just this like I think it was a photo, and it was like a collage. It was like 6 photos progressing, and it was just a guy eating a sausage. So it was like the first one, he's just like holding the sausage, and the second one it's like a little closer to his mouth, and it just like goes on, and then it's just him eating it. And we're looking at this going like, this is in a museum, like.
And
It's like,
it's too nice of a museum to have something that like random.
but all the power to them. Like if people are interested in that, that's great. And so it's nice that Berlin offers that, like, offers a space for people to do what they want to do, like without gatekeeping, without saying like, oh, well, technically that isn't art, because like so many people want to have one definition of what art is, where it's obviously much more subjective than that. If it's art for you, then that means it's art, like kind of full stop, and we have this expression of like a starving artist, like, okay, if you want to do art, great, but you're going to have a hard life. But it sounds like in Germany, having healthcare as a stand-up comedian or as an artist, at least from the American perspective, is like, wow, that's that's a different way to support people than you see in other places. I mean, just the social systems in general must be a bit of a culture shock for you coming from the US and being in Germany now.
Oh, bro. I mean, just for I say this sometimes in my set that like just you not being able you not getting charged per visit to the doctor's office is crazy. Like for you to go to the doctors and then nothing is charged as a result. If nothing like if there's no procedure, then you don't get charged. Which that's in the States, you go to the minute you make the doctor's appointment, there's a bill with your name on it, and you got to deal with that. So you're like, yo, either I got to make this to a bundle deal where if I find something that's wrong with me, in addition to me paying for this doctor's appointment, or I'm just paying for a doctor's appointment for him to say, hey, your knee's hurting, just take some ibuprofen and call it a day. And now I got to pay like $80, 100 or something.
And like it's a little bit different in Canada because we do have free healthcare, but we also have like not everything is free either. And I don't know to what extent it is in other places because like obviously I'm more familiar with like the Canadian system, but if you go to the doctor, it's free. If you go to like a doctor's appointment or you go to the ER or whatever, it's all free. If you need a surgery, it's free. Everything like that is free. But we do pay for like prescription medicine. So if you need to take some kind of medicine, I think it's like I think it's a little bit cheaper. Like I think that the government kind of offsets it, the costs of that, but you still have to pay out of pocket if you need a prescription medicine. Also, if you go to the optometrist, you got to pay out of pocket for everything. And if you go to the dentist, you have to pay out of pocket for that as well. So how does it work in Germany? Like what services are covered?
Yeah, so like regular doctor's appointments and stuff, that's covered. Also, I think the dentist you still gotta pay. Like to be honest, I don't think I've fully used all the extent of the healthcare that I have available to me because I still have this like fear. Not even this fear. It's just this thing where it's like, all right, look, most of my life, if I walk into a doctor's office, there's a cost to that. So now I'm figuring it out. So I would say, yeah, prescription, like for example, you gotta buy some medicine, you gotta pay for that out of pocket, but it's like so cheap. It's like literally, they don't even it don't even feel like you're paying for something for the medication in comparison in the States where, I mean, again, like, they trade, this stocks that's tied to medicine. The stocks go up, that medicine about to go up. You thought you was paying a certain amount. Nah, Dow Jones did great this past week. So you're gonna be paying a little bit more, maybe. I don't know. So it's tied to different systems that are not for the public, but rather for the corporation that is producing that, and then patents and all this other stuff that gets very complicated in that American medical system. Whereas here, you paying like even I went to the dentist, just like, oh yeah, this is crazy. The person doing the teeth cleaning, she was breaking down to me what will be the final cost after the insurance handles everything and stuff. And that was for me like unprecedented because when it comes to what you're gonna owe, even the doctors don't really know. Like they don't know because it's so complicated. So like they're like, hey, we're just gonna bill you, and you're like, how much? I don't know. It depends
Surprise.
on yeah. So yeah, literally surprise, or else, and here you better do something with that surprise, or else you're gonna be in debt, and your credit score is gonna go down, and you're not gonna be able to buy a house. And it's like, I just came in to just have my knee checked. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand the American system. Like, I just don't get it. Like because like okay, I wish that our dental and optometry and stuff. I wish that was all covered as well. But those aren't life threatening things. Like if you have like a cavity, it's not going to kill you. And if you need like a new prescription for your glasses, it's like it's not going to be the end of the world. But to have the thought in your head of, oh, I have this cut on my leg, or I like broke my wrist, but I can't afford to go to the hospital and get it fixed. I mean, what a horrible position to put anyone in, to have to choose between like, your finances and your health. Like that shouldn't be the case. It really shouldn't be the case. And so that blows my mind because sometimes I'll think like, oh, I feel kind of sick or I have this pain. Maybe I should go to the hospital. And in the back of my head, I'm always like, but it's like such a pain in the ass. Like, I don't want to have to go all the way over there. I don't want to, have to, wait and talk to someone. And then it might turn out that it's nothing. But all of that is just like laziness. I don't want to take the time. Whereas I don't have any thought in my mind about finances. Like, because it's not the system that I grew up in. And so I didn't even consider that going to the hospital would be a financial thing. And so that's a privilege, that no one in the US even has. And I think we do it well in Canada, but I think they do it even better in Germany, because if you have a job here, you would get insurance, like a full-time job. You would get insurance that would cover your dental and stuff like that, at least to a certain degree. But me being a content creator, I got no insurance for that. So like if I go to the dentist, I got to pay for everything out of pocket. But like you're talking about this artist visa where you're getting like a
Yeah.
pension and stuff, and you're getting like dental. We don't even have that in Canada. So like Germany really is like next level when it comes to those kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, for a fact, bro, and it's something that still to the day I'm like, wow. So I really have healthcare because I put somewhere on a forum that I'm a stand-up comedian, and I make some income from this. And they're like, hey, all right, cool, just pay into the system, and that you have healthcare. I have a healthcare card and stuff. I just used it today. I was like, wow, okay, I have a card that I got for me doing stand-up comedy. That's crazy. But I will say that maybe yeah, I guess the benefit of a like American healthcare system is that if you have the money, it's the best of the best. You could, bro, you if you have the money, you can buy a doctor a house that he lives nearby so that if you sick or somebody coughing, there's like a house visit, like that's like
Yeah.
American type of culture, right? Like they used to have like that house doctor that comes in and does the procedure right there. Or like if you have the money, bro, like you can get new blood if you want that. You know what I'm saying? Like you can just we could pay you know, but obviously is the disparity that, kind of makes it not fair, obviously.
And that's something that I've learned a lot more about the last year, like doing this podcast, especially, and talking to a bunch of Americans who moved to different countries and talking about the kind of the social systems that are set up. I've learned that like the US is really good, but it's really good for like a very small percentage of people. Like if you have the cash, it's a great system for operating a business, for example, right? Or getting, like the, top quality healthcare. And I get the business part because I think there's less barriers for people to like run businesses and whatever. And so if you have money and you want to make more money, it's great. For everyone else, though, they get left out, which is like the majority of people. Like most people don't have that kind of money. And I guess something that I'm thinking about now is like, if you are a super wealthy person, can't you get those kind of services in any country?
I you can, but it depends because maybe and it's not maybe this not a downside because this is kind of the benefits of these systems is that when you make a certain amount of money, you get taxed more. So it's kind of like things even out on a way that you can make 20 times more, but you're gonna get taxed down to like almost not too far from a person making 20 times less. So in terms of like maybe getting private health insurance and stuff, maybe that'll grant you some other things that you can get quicker. But I don't know if it's like the same type of like let's just say differential in terms of treatment you'll get if you had the amount of money and you spend that in America. You know what I
I
mean?
see.
Like
Yeah,
yeah, because even with if maybe this is me thinking, and I'm not probably too sure on this, but I would imagine that there's certain limitations on the amount of like quality you may get just due to it being available to everybody. So it's like, all right, look, I know you have a lot of money, you want to buy all this medicine or all these resources, but we got to make sure for everybody that's available. Whereas in America, it's like, hey, some of these people can't afford it anyways. We have excess of it. So if you have the money, by all means, you can break your knee 20 times and you got the money, we'll fix it. You want to get a new finger, whatever. We'll find somebody, we'll dig somebody up and put the finger on you and you got a new finger now. You want to live till 200? Great. We'll give you all the drugs that somebody who wants to live to 80 will give it to you, you know. Hey, they should live for 20 more years, but whatever, you have the money, so get five other people that are going to die 20 years earlier, and we give it to you, and you live to 200. You know,
yeah. You want
so
like four liters of baby blood? Go ahead. Bottoms
there you
up.
go. Yeah, bottoms up, whatever. We got a couple babies laying around. Let's do
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So I think it makes sense when people talk about the US, how like you talk to two different people and one person is like best country in the world and the other person is like worst country ever, Because it's true for that individual. It really depends where you are economically. And I get that. I just think it's too bad that like that is the qualifier between having a good life and a bad life is just like what's in your bank account.
Yeah, what's in your bank account? Also, to what your expectations are about the states. I think that's like a thing that doesn't get talked about a lot. Like, although what's happening in the states right now, I mean, it's crazy. Like, I mean, the lot, like what's happening political wise, society wise. Like, there's a lot of things that, I mean, that would take a whole entire podcast in itself. But still, in comparison to other situations in the world, it's still better. I know it's hard to say that, and it's probably controversial to say that, but I mean, there's like active conflicts that are happening that like even America would still be better, or that the allure of America in that you're able to do whatever you want to do, or you're able to make it the way you want to make it. it doesn't hold as true as it used to, but it's still there to an extent in compare. Like Germany, you have to go through a lot of like bureaucratic processes to just get something started off the ground. Whereas in America, bro, you go to a bank account, LLC, by today you have a business. Literally, you have a business account. You could do whatever. There's no, I mean, maybe you serving food, but even that, just people serving food from the house, they ain't getting closed down whatever. Here in Germany, you do that, bro, you might get your whole visa revoked. It's like, yo, you legally can't be here. So I think that what's somebody's experience of what's good or what's bad in America, it comes down to, I mean, what was your situation before? If you grew up in America, then it's like, all
Sure.
right, well, clearly you've seen the trajectory and where things are now. So it's not it's not good, or the type of maybe even like down to, all right, what part of the city did you grow up in? A rough neighborhood? Did you grow up in a right side of the neighborhood? Shit, bro. I mean, America is a race-based country. Shit, if you're a white person, black person, what part of the country, that's going to have a different effect on you. So
Yeah.
it's tricky in America in terms of like what's the best and what's the worst and what you compare it to.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it definitely depends where you're coming from, right? I think there are some bigger issues that are like, you would say, I guess, structural or like systemic or something like that in the US. And then there are other issues that we have kind of in North America in general that are like champagne problems. Like we're in comparison to the rest of the world, we're doing really, really well. Like in terms of the economies that we have and like, the stability, I think. Yeah, we don't have active conflicts in our countries. Like even just that full stop is like, a huge improvement for many people in the world. Our governments, aren't as corrupt as maybe some other places in the world. It's always a comparison thing, right? I think every government has some corruption to it, but in comparison to other places, man, we're so blessed with what we have too. So yeah, it's a good point. And like, you really can't say that a country is like good or bad. It really is up to the individual to decide that for themselves. It's subjective. Where do you want to live? Where do you see yourself? What do you value? For you personally and the things that you value, I mean, where would you rather live, Germany or the US?
And that's a good question, bro. And people ask me that actually a lot. And I'd say right now, where I'm at in life, I would say Germany. But like, man, when you live outside America, you realize how American you are, which is kind of
Mm.
crazy. Like you just realize like, oh wow, I do value these things, yo. I actually want them. Like I didn't think so, but I would rather have X, Y, and Z that you might only find in America. So I'd say right now, Germany, just because I'm able to travel to these different places, right? Like specifically Berlin. I just came back from Gothenburg in Sweden. Before that, I was in Finland. That was in Malmö. That was in. I'm going to Estonia in the next upcoming weeks. So I'm able to just travel to these crazy places that are like, whoa. So I'm just in a stage of my life where I'm like, I haven't been to Italy yet. I haven't been to Greece. I haven't been to these places that people go to every time it gets cold. So I'd say right now Germany, but man, I mean, even like what, bro, New York City, I got friends there, I got family. When I was out there a couple months ago, like I just dropped right in as if I didn't leave. And I was like, oh man, yo, I missed this, but at the same time, so I'm in between two different worlds, bro. So I can't, I don't even know. Right now, I would say Germany if I to give you an answer, but let me not say forever because there's some things in German culture that I'm not ready for, bro. I'm not ready to eat cold bread and cheese for dinner. I ain't. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely a complicated question, right? And yeah, I think that's a fair response. I mean, nobody knows where they're going to live forever, right? Like things can change, very quickly, and you might want to go somewhere else, and that's totally fair. You mentioned earlier on that you kind of had like this third culture kid experience where like your parents were from one place and you were growing up in another and you were surrounded by different cultures. And so now that you've added Germany into that, I mean, it's almost like you you got like an extra culture going on now. Like, is that how do you make sense of that in terms of your own identity?
Bro, that's a good question. I think what it does is that it challenges the cultures that you grew up in a way that you wouldn't. have challenge if I say, for example, if I stayed in America. So what I mean by that is that being here in Germany, what people attribute to you is the most outwardly culture that you present. In this case, is American culture. So, you're getting a lot of things and references or assumptions for you being American. Whereas in the States, it's more of like, okay, American, but you African, because you got the name, Nya Yeanafehn, so African. So you have like assumptions on that side, or the way you treat it, or the way you connect with people. But now that I'm in Germany, I'm like, it's kind of like I'm not saying deviation, but let me say it's like a couple steps removed from those two cultures. So it's almost like I'm acclimating to a new culture and I'm kind of going away from these two other cultures a little bit. But at the same time, the references I'm getting from Germany about me is that of American culture. Whereas before it used to be American culture, but then it was African culture that was referenced or so once, things were, once my name comes up or we start talking, you know what I mean? So I would say it's almost like a fourth culture that's starting to happen a bit because Germany, then there's a culture, even the way I'm interacting with Germany, because I'm doing it as a stand-up comedian. So that also is a whole thing in itself. I'm not here as oh, let me become an accountant. I'm trying to find a new job. It's like I'm telling people jokes and I'm outwardly being like very vocal about my experiences. So it's like the way people are even interacting with me it's like not even your typical experience of an expat or immigrant immigrating. I came here because of the jokes I said. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a different introduction, acclimation to a culture.
Yeah, I mean, you have such a unique experience, honestly, and like you're really putting yourself out there doing stand-up comedy. I mean, you're standing in front of people and basically welcoming judgment, and that sounds like it would be terrifying to me. I'm like, wow. But yeah, you have a very unique experience, culturally, and doing stand-up and all of the different. I don't know. It's all kind of interwoven. So this has been a really cool conversation for me. I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you very much for asking the questions, bro. You asked some insightful questions that made me think a little bit more about my experience. So thank you, bro.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad. Before we wrap up, tell people how they can find you online, your tour dates. I don't know exactly when I'm uploading this, but you can just say the dates anyway, and hopefully it'll be before that.
Yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm pretty much everywhere. You can find me on Instagram. That's my main one, Nya Mean, Nyam as in Mary, EAN. Same thing on TikTok, just with the number one at the end. YouTube, same one, without the number one at the end. Also, I have a podcast, Third Culture Talk podcast where we talk to people living in culture different than their original culture. So I have that up as well. In terms of tour dates, next place I'm going to is I don't know if I to the date, so you can find it on Instagram. But going to Tallinn and going to Tartu, Lithuania. So those are coming up soon in the next upcoming weeks. I'm going to Madrid, Barcelona. So you can find all these dates on my Instagram. And I post everything up there, so you can go to the link in the bio, and then from there you can see all the upcoming dates easily.
Sweet. Okay, awesome. Yeah, and I'll link your Instagram in the description, and people can check it out that way. Thanks again, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much, bro. Thank you for having me, man.